All right, welcome back to DangIT Prodcast, the show where we talking about video games, anime, probably not manga this time around. My name is Justin, and welcome back, everybody. Uh, so I don't know. I'm gonna be fully transparent with everybody. A lot of crazy stuff has been happening over the past like 24 hours. Nothing too crazy, or rather, at least on my end, nothing crazy showing up. I'm just trying to coordinate with like folks as far as attendance for everybody to appear on the pod, especially today, this week, because of the whole Nintendo Direct. I just noticed that my forehead's like incredibly shiny. I've been stressed out here, stressed because it's just like we don't really know when like this is gonna happen or this is gonna happen. Coordinating with other folks has been a little bit more chaotic this time around. But you know what? Things kind of happened. Essentially, because we kind of had to like push a couple things here. Some people are not in attendance. Someone else was going to be in attendance, but like something happened like literally kind of last minute ish. So, you know, it's kind of unfortunate. I think it's just gonna be me though. Let's just like be safe and assume that it's gonna be me. However, if anybody reaches out to me, whether it be like through chat or Discord, you might hear like a message pop up over there, or like on my phone saying, "Hey, can you give me a call so I can hop in on the chats for the podcast?" Then I'll do that. Just know that if that does happen, then there will be like a little bit of technical setup that I gotta like make sure I get going, especially when it comes to Discord. As good as it is, you do have to spend some time just to once set it up initially on like OBS, for example, and then you actually have to full screen it. You have to like crop it out accordingly if you, especially if you have like this kind of custom layout like I do. Nothing crazy, but just simply like cutting up some of the borders on the side here and there. So yeah, it's one of those things. But I'm pretty sure not a lot of people who've been tuning in for the podcast for the past couple of years, they're not really like too bothered by that. So fair enough. But yeah, that's just a FYI for anybody out there who's a part of the main Dang It crew. Yeah, just let me know. Just let me know. This is a pretty big week when it comes to gaming news, so it was kind of like an important thing for me to see if we could prioritize getting people on board, but unfortunately things just kind of like came up, so it will just be me for this one. We will spend a little bit more time talking about the listings of things that happened regarding the Nintendo Direct, but I guess we should probably give you guys a update as far as the usual stuff that we try to like cycle through. So, pickups. I actually got one this time around. I've been typically just holding off, so it seems like every month I'll have like maybe something just once instead of like what used to be the norm of me like having at least one or two, three maybe like on the weekly, but I only got one this time. It's through limited run actually. Uh, so it's well, actually, I probably should just show you guys like what it is before I even like talk in more detail about it. I got Shinobi Art of Vengeance in the mail today. So I played this game like via the demo of it on Switch 2. It's essentially just a Switch 1 edition. I don't know if they have like a Switch 2 version, or I guess I should really say Nintendo Switch 2 edition on the eShop. I'll have to double check that. But otherwise, I was playing it on Switch, well, this I guess the Switch 1 version of the demo, and that was really good. Like I have nothing else to say. I guess if there were any like added details, some spec updates resolution wise and whatnot, then I guess that would be really cool. I can, I will just do a quick search on that actually. Nintendo Switch 2, let me see if they actually have something going on for that. I don't think so. I think it's just one of those things where, yeah, it runs 60 frames while I was playing through the demo. But if we're talking about like getting the Switch 2 like edition of it, then the benefit would be like whether it would support higher refresh rate or it's gonna be a higher resolution. Mainly having a high resolution would be really good. But yeah, the game, according to the eShop, did release on the 29th of like last month, but I did get the physical just today, so fair enough. I think for me it works out mainly because I just have like a huge backlog. So, for me who wants to prioritize towards getting physical games but doesn't need to play that the moment like it drops, there's some exceptions here and there, but otherwise, yeah, I think I'm kind of okay with like this typical thing. Real quick aside, actually, Limited Run announced that they are doing the pre-orders for what was it, Star Ocean First Departure? I think it's like a completed edition type of thing. So I got mine like when it was on sale for like $7 or something like that on the eShop, and now it's like, oh shoot, now they got physical. I guess I guess I'll put some money towards that. Oh, I'm so bad at it. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to make sure I only get like just one, and it's like the physical or whatever is the preservation focused one. So whether that be like Switch or like GOG, or if it's supported like fully on disc on like Xbox side, PlayStation side, then I'll try to prioritize towards that. That does remind me of something else. It's since it is Square Enix that actually is working in collaboration with Limited Run on this one, which is kind of a shock actually. But I also think they did I think Square actually owns oh god. What's the name of that lizard dude? Not the Geico Gecko. Actually, no, it's eating me. I gotta look it up. I just have to check like Limited Run's website, and it should just show up in like chronological order. But they did that for a little bit, and I gotta say the artwork for that one was like really cool. Let me see. Gotta look at the games here and see if it just kind of like appears chronologically. I see Grounded. Yeah, I did a physical copy of Grounded. I wonder if they're gonna do that for Grounded 2 later on. But I would assume it's gonna be like an early access type of thing, similar to how they did it the first time. They do have Grandia HD here. I got that as the Xbox physical when that actually like was ready for pre-order. Hmm. I I don't see it. Hold on. Hold on. It's somewhere. They should have like an archive. In fact, yeah, they have that. There's Trails in the Sky. I didn't entertain the idea of getting like a Trails in the Sky first chapter like deluxe or their bracer edition. I wanted to just go with like a retail because that's all I really would need. Oh, but yeah, it's Star Ocean First Departure R standard edition. Keela says hello, by the way, over on the Twitch chat. Where is that? Where's that copy? I see Bubsy. So it's the God, what is I'm trying to remember the lizard dude. I'm trying to remember what his name is, and it's really escaping me, and like for the life of me, I just kind of don't want to forget. Hmm. There should be like they have like their limited run vault, but it doesn't have everything, you know? And I'm like, I'm just trying. Okay, well that it's just lost to me. If Phil were here, he'd let me know. Which, yeah, unfortunately, he did really want to jump in on this one, but again, last minute things had like popped up. But that's TLDR. That's pretty much everything as far as pickups. And I think the rest of this podcast, I'm not gonna lie to you, is gonna just be kind of reviewing the Nintendo Direct. Now, for those of you who've been like tuning into my regular streams here and there, just like via Twitch, then I kind of talked about it a fair bit. I've also done like my own reaction to it, and that's available on like different platforms here and there. Everything is just like connected, links in bio, etc., etc. But I won't bore you with that. But for anyone who hasn't tuned in, this is the opportunity to like really jump in because I had literally listed everything out here. Let me actually just put like a time code right here. Yeah, because I still got to do that manually. But yeah, let's talk about the Nintendo Direct. So that it was announced 2 days prior. It was like announced on Wednesday to be slated to be broadcasted in the morning, 6 a.m. On a Friday. So it happened yesterday, and I did the whole reaction and everything like that. I woke up early, and it was nice actually because of the fact that whenever Nintendo does their Nintendo Directs in the past, it's always been one in the morning, and two, it was always like kind of the dead center, if not just at the very beginning of the work week, where it's literally like announced 24 hours, just shy under, maybe like under like 24 hours it would be like broadcasted later on, so it would not give you any time to prepare per se. You're scrambling to figure out all the talking points and everything like that. Um, and I make a big deal of it because of the fact that like, well, I mean, you work like some of us like work pretty early in the morning, and some people just end up having like receive like the butt end of it, for lack of better words, where it just is not convenient for them. But I understand. Like it's for example, like the podcast runtime for today has been pushed, and it ends up like kind of hurting like a lot of people's schedules and everything like that. Shout out to Ibrahim, by the way, in the chat. We are now just jumping into a little bit more details for the Nintendo Direct. I know Ibrahim was here like in a previous stream, so this is just a little bit more like more focused on my thoughts. And whenever the guys want to show up, then they can also cover what they've like really enjoyed here too. I've literally listed out everything. I think everything. So hopefully, I got everything. This was a very important direct because one, it's 60 minutes. It's about 60 minutes. And it's in a time period where a lot of us consumers don't really know exactly when a lot of these games that have been announced previously would be released. On top of that, anything else outside of that, just there doesn't seem to be any new games, right? Not to say that was like a red flag or like a big warning, a time crunch for non-Nintendo side. I honestly, from my perspective, never felt like there was a strap for like limited games on Nintendo Switch 2 per se. I'll still enjoy my time, but like literally everybody's different. Like if we're talking just Nintendo Switch 2 games outside of like the first parties, then yeah, there are a couple games that have been releasing here and there, on top of like some Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo Switch enhanced games on the platform. But for me, I've definitely been enjoying Mario Kart World. I've been trying to like finish Donkey Kong like Bonanza. That's a really good one, by the way, and we'll jump into that in a little bit. But because of like how I am specifically, I've been playing through Pokemon Violet, which got the update for Nintendo Switch 2, and it's good. But this isn't really the conversation to talk about like what's been good as far as like the updates. This is just about what's been announced, right? Just checking with Ibrahim. Uh, um, yeah, it was pretty good. Something for everyone, except for the farming simulator part. There was no farming game at the Nintendo Direct. You might want to like you might want to double check. You might like check back on that, because if we're talking strictly on like was there any farming games, simulator games, or just farming games like in general, I can give you the quick ones. They had Dinkum there. Stardew Valley was an update. Pokemon Pokopia is technically a farming sim, actually. Just be if purely off of the fact that you will literally plant food and whatnot, like carrots or apples and whatnot. There's I'd like to say that there's something for everyone, and there was quite a lot. But the first things first, they were talking about Mario's 40th anniversary. So it was a big one. I remember when they were celebrating Mario 35th anniversary. I can't believe it's been 5 years, dude. But for this one, they were talking a lot about, and I guess I didn't really write this down per se, but I just have it in memory. They were talking about all the different things they wanted to do. So a lot of art stuff relating to the development of the game, whether it be like the first little cell sheet, some I don't have the word for it. I guess concept art. A lot of that that was probably found in different headquarters have been all moved. Maybe all of them have been moved as like a display thing for the Nintendo Museum, which opened up last year. I still want to go, but that's aside the point. But having said that, though, it's a wonderful opportunity for them to continue to celebrate like one of the most iconic video game characters out there. And I know that they also promoted the was it the Tokyo Marathon? Yeah, it was a marathon, or was it Hokkaido? Ooh, I don't remember. A marathon. You guys can check it out on like if you're interested about that. It's cool because the little bib that they put on like the runners, they actually have like a Nintendo logo on it. Be cool memorabilia. And if you wanted to participate in that one, that'd be like a really cool thing. Although personally, I'm not sure if I would ever want to like participate in a marathon in my life, but that would be kind of cool, especially if it was like video game related. But that wasn't all the things that they were going to like talk about. They had a little teaser for the Mario movie. It's actually going to be the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So it is completely focused on, and it's so weird because of the video game history of Mario. Galaxy was like further out there, like especially on the Wii. But obviously, there's been like different platforms with different games and whatnot. But they've all kind of been like culminated into like one movie. So that big jump, that's not fun. That big jump from like the Mario Brothers movie, I guess the timeline, and jumping into something that was established later on, such as Galaxy, is kind of an interesting thing. Very interesting. So in that case, that's probably obviously they've shown like Lumas to be in the movie, at least one, and then that pretty much will open up the possibility of seeing Rosalina. She wasn't showcased here. I think it's just gonna be an announcement for like later on, especially when they want to like announce the voice casting. They pretty much just showed who was reprising their old cast roles, like from Chris Pratt's Mario all the way to like Jack Black as Bowser. You know, those characters are still gonna be maintaining their same like voices here and there. So there's that. But otherwise, we don't know anything about like Rosalina. But yeah, that's otherwise that's coming out spring next year. A lot of things are coming out spring next year. Spoiler alert, as far as this direct. But there were two other Mario game related things that popped up. I think no, three. A new game, which was Mario Tennis Fever. So Mario Tennis Aces was the previous game on the Switch. I remember I bought that for a Mario Day. One of these years, I bought it like for Mario Day, so March 10th, and I got like a decent deal on that one. And I unfortunately didn't really play a lot of it. Although for me, I really loved Mario Power Tennis for the GameCube. That was crazy. Camelot cooked. That was, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first game that you saw Waluigi, I think. Yeah? And if that were the case, that's like that huge little CGI cinematic that they had of just like Wario and Waluigi trying to thwart well, maybe not well, yeah, I guess there was an identity crisis where like they saw Mario and Luigi being super successful and they got jealous of that, so they had to go through the whole story of them training up under Bowser, and they had like this whole um montage of them like getting fit, working out, and just having like crazy techniques. But when it came down to it, they completely sabotaged everything. I don't know. That was a very strong memory for me to watch that like opening cinematic, which is why I'm spending so much time talking about that. But yeah, no, I don't really have too many other impressions for Mario Tennis Fever. I hope that I guess if anything, the presentation of this one, as far as like the story, is a little bit better, because Tennis Aces had like a really like very noticeable like reuse in assets in the form of like voice acting, like that Luigi voice line was definitely something I've heard from, I would even say, like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Like I think I heard from there, and to hear it just like almost as clear as day in Tennis Aces' opening of the plot, I was like, that felt kind of lazy. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, when you're in video game design, like there's gonna be assets like reused for the sake of time, and also like because it just makes sense. But yeah, I hope that otherwise the presentation is just a little bit cleaner. I think it does look pretty sharp as far as like the stories involved. Like the whole story for like Fever is that Mario and like group of other folks, including Luigi, like Waluigi, Wario, they're all turned to babies, and they have to relearn how to play tennis. And it's just like a little like fun romp like across this Mario Tennis world. So there's that. But I think the main appeal for that one is definitely just like the playing, like, or I guess the gameplay of just like playing tennis under the gimmick rules of Mario Tennis, which is reminding me of actually a previous podcast that we did when Phil was talking about Dragon Drive, the latest game that came out last month actually for Switch 2. He was talking about how The controls like are the most unique thing about it, and can also be a turn on and turn off for you when it comes to that $20 game, right? And when that came up, he criticized the fact that there wasn't a lot in the game aside from just like playing hoops, which I mean, yeah, that's the main gimmick, right? But to not really add any additional like fun chaotic stuff like, different like different courts, different effects, any type of obstacles such as like conveyor belts or, things happening to the terrain otherwise, like stuff like that was unfortunately just not even there and otherwise feels pretty just kind of bare bones. But I mean, it's also $20 at the same time, so there wasn't too much like put into it, and that could be an example of like variable pricing here and there. So, okay, sorry about that. Phil was just giving some updates as far as like his situation. Everything's good, just it's one of those things where I'm glad that he's like giving us updates. Also, what's going on, Ibrahim? I am upset they didn't show Rosalina. That's fair. Honestly, like if they didn't even need to show like or have her like do any voices, but if it was one of those things where like if it just like did like the quickest like cameo shot of just her turning around and you just see her like model, if maybe they're not even ready for that even, but or they're saving it for a very specific moment to announce it. I mean, honestly, quick aside, if they wanted to do something for, a direct related to the Mario Brothers movie, so in this case, Super Mario Galaxy movie direct, they could do it. I mean, they've done it before, so I would expect them to do it again. But yeah, so TLDR, Mario Tennis Fever is coming out February next year. It's actually kind of close if you're not really thinking too much about it. Bro, I'd be Ibrahim, calm down. This is the internet. Everything's stuck on the internet perpetually. Come on now. Lock in. But sorry y'all. But you know what? The fact is that they didn't talk about like the movie because, well, too much about the movie. Well, I mean, no, no, redact all that. They talked about the movie. That's great, especially considering how well the movie was received previously. But this is a perfect opportunity for them to drop a little bit of news. They definitely had this like cook in the back burner, especially considering the fact that they had this for 3D All Stars in a way. But they do have Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 as a bundle or to be purchased separately, coming out actually very soon, which I'm glad. October 2nd, 2025. I believe that is for both physical and digital. You can do the pre-orders right now. It's part of a it's part of a debate going on, as there are typically is on the internet, about pricing and stuff like that. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 were originally Nintendo Wii games, which is crazy, right? Like a sequel showing up pretty much on that same platform. Well, I mean, granted, we have Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom doing that. But the fact is that they decided to churn out like a sequel to Mario Galaxy. That was a very big shock to me. But what was a bigger shock was the fact that they had 3D All Stars, which I think was actually 35th anniversary. That was the whole celebration of that. And what we got was Mario 64, we had Mario Sunshine, and we had Mario Galaxy. That were all kind of put in well, pretty much like put it onto that card via like emulation, pretty much. And then not it was like a good year of just having that, and then they just completely removed that from the eShop, and they discontinued like physicals. So for a good while, you didn't have Mario Galaxy at the very least. Because Mario 64 you could still play on the NSO app, and when GameCube was out not too long ago, I think that was also a thing that you could do, right? I could be misremembering it. Mario Sunshine is available right now, right? Or is that later? Let me just Super Mario Sunshine, because that feels like that makes sense, right? But that might be like too much right now. And so, I mean, is it? Um, this was 3 months ago, but it was also deleted by users, so I don't know. Um, okay, someone was saying 15 days ago on this like Reddit posting that it was confirmed in a direct to be coming out on the service. That would be like the NSO, Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion. It was one of the first games listed. So that's my poor memory on that one. But yeah, so otherwise, you would otherwise not be able to play through Mario Galaxy. Nevertheless, Mario Galaxy 2, which I thought was kind of like a big thing that they missed out on when it came to 3D All Stars, like that would have honestly just put them like available separately, which they did, this time. So fair enough. Also, what Humor, what are you saying? I'll be more professional. I'll invite Rosalina over for a nice dinner, and I'll be cooking. And before you say it, yes, I can cook. I mean, considering your diet, I would hope that you would be able to. Or I mean, to each their own, right? Everyone has different levels of cooking. I would say personally, I can cook okay. I would definitely want to expand that quite a bit. Just really simple stuff like, like cooking pasta, for example, or like, cooking chicken and whatnot. Seasoning is kind of like, I would probably have to like really learn that before I just like, because the only like type of seasoning I know is just salt and pepper and maybe like a couple other things here and there for very specific like dishes, but otherwise, aside that point. So we do have Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 releasing as a bundle coming out October 2nd, but it's also available separately if you want to pre-order it through the eShop. So essentially, a bundle is $70, US dollars, by the way, and Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 separately would be costing $40 each. So if you bought them separately, $80. If you buy them as a bundle, $70. And it's caused quite a bit of discourse online, as you would probably expect. From the fact that like these are like Nintendo Wii games and they're being charged like $40 like a pop when like we have something that was like a GameCube like remaster, but it actually is a remake in the form of Metroid like Prime remaster that was like $30 retail. You can still find those here and there. And then there's also cases like where Skyward Sword got the HD like treatment and that was like charged at, I think $60, I think. The discourse is everywhere, especially when people start digging into the fact that like, oh, Mario Galaxy used to be $30 on their eShop on the Wii U back in the day or something like that. It's everywhere. Honestly, like, is this a reflection of like the greed for Nintendo? Maybe. I can't really say like per se, like from my perspective of things. I think it's just one of those things where they're trying to like meet people like halfway with it, but they also want to like kind of charge premium. I mean, like together it'll be like $70, 80 like individually, so they are using like their variable pricing tag now. So I I mean, I'm okay with it, but I also understand why a lot of people would be kind of upset about that. Maybe they would want it to be like a $60 thing. Maybe in that case where it's like if you're looking at Metroid Prime Remaster, which was $30, make the Wii games here for Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2 each like $30. So whether you buy it separately or together, it'll still be 30, if not 60. And I get that. But I also understand they kind of want to like do something with this with the variable pricing. If they do add upgraded specs to Galaxy and Galaxy 2, like on Switch 2, to make that into like $70, I guess I can see that, but otherwise it's just a Nintendo Switch 1 release on this one. So that's tough. That's tough. Also, I realize that people are in ads. I think give me a second actually. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be talking a lot. Also, real quick, I realize I might be in a predicament where I might not be able to check everyone's messages, so I just want to make sure I got that. Anyway, I don't mean to really like spend too much time on that. I just know that given the title of this podcast, I did want to like touch up at least a bit about the pricing situation that people are talking about. I get it. I 100% get it. It would be, I mean, I guess it's technically like $80. Like, if you decide to buy both of those like independently. So, for example, I have Mario Galaxy through the physical 3D All Stars that I have, so I can still experience that game. I just don't know if that one can get the HD like treatment, or I'm guess sorry, I like maybe some 4K resolution type of thing going on, and that might be just specifically for this. That's an interesting thing too, because we don't know if these particular Galaxy versions, I guess if you will say, are the ones, or especially Galaxy, is the same one as 3D All Stars Galaxy, or is it like a brand new one where this one is applicable for a Switch 2 update, if not just has like different controls and everything like that. Something that otherwise on the surface level you wouldn't notice. But if you were, I guess, someone who really dug into like the files for Mario Galaxy, like maybe you would have already noticed that, like, oh hey, the one for Switch that's like with the Galaxy 2 pairing is actually a different version from the one from 3D All Stars. I couldn't tell you that. But someone's gonna figure it out, and we appreciate them in their service there. Yeah, otherwise, I could just like stick to Mario Galaxy 1 through 3D All Stars and then buy Galaxy 2 because I never got to experience that one. By be forking over like $40. That is better than like paying 50 or 60 back in the day when that game originally like released. You also have to consider that too. When people bring up the fact that like Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2, if not just Galaxy 1, was like it was like a $20 to $30 game on like the eShop back then. What does that mean about now? It just means that like this is like brand new. This is something where they had the power to like charge it however they want to, and they decided to go with this one because Mario for them is kind of like a premium experience, whether you agree with them or not. Whether you agree with them or not, because ultimately at the end of the day, you can charge like games at any like given pricing. Oh, people are talking about like the fact that this 7 to 9 year long like development game for like Silksong, for example, is like $20. A DLC that we'll talk about in a little bit is also $20, but it's just DLC, right? And now we're looking at like Mario like Galaxy for 1 and 2 are individually $40. It's like, yeah, like I understand why people would want to make that type of comparison, but it's tough because you could say that like, oh yeah, they could totally like charge like the games for like 20 each for Mario Galaxy. Well, do they want to do that? Not necessarily, especially when they want to make the profit. And it's like, will people buy it? Yeah. Will people buy Silksong? Yes. And there's also a good reason for that too, for $20. But I don't know. Like, actually, you know what? I don't really have such a strong like push or like I mean, I guess it would be nice if Galaxy 1 and 2 were like 20 each. I mean, personally, that'd be great. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm also in the camp where it's like Silk Song could have been like $40. Hell, it could have been $60, dude. 70. Okay, you're pushing a little bit here. That game could have been $60, and I'd be like, you know what? I think I would do it. I'd fork over like $60 for a Silk Song. I am super grateful that they are just letting it be like $20. I think, given Team Cherry being like an indie like developer, yeah, they could have made profit, but they also just want the game to be accessible, for people. Or at least that's my words, not theirs. But I don't know. It's tough. I wish I had the answer for it. Anyway, I 100%. I don't mean to like oversay with that. I spat a little bit. Sorry. Mario Brothers Wonder. I'm so dumb about it. I thought it was gonna be Mario Brothers Wonder 2. It not quite. It's the Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus meetups in Bella Bell Park. Yes, that's the full government name. Yes, we're gonna get a lot of those. So this is an updated version for Mario Brothers Wonder. I I could have sworn that they had an updated version for Wonder, but this is obviously like a new add-on to it. Let me see. Nintendo Switch to enhance games. I'm just gonna do a quick search on that one because they do have a pretty elaborate lineup for it. Like for example, Arms got an update for Switch 2 that's like totally free. Big Brain Academy, Brain versus Brain, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, Game Builder Garage, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Splatoon 3, Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Super Mario Galaxy, or sorry, Odyssey. Let me chill. Let me chill real quick. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, as well as The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. That's it. Hmm. Okay, so I guess they didn't actually have Wonder as like a listing. I could have sworn they did, but I guess that was U Deluxe. I guess we party U is what we do. All right. So this is actually their now like established Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which means there's a decent chance that you'll probably see like some visual updates as far as resolution. Whether we're going to be supporting higher frame rate, it's kind of up to them, but it would be kind of dope if they supported 120 frames on the Switch 2. But otherwise, the add-on also includes some additional multiplayer stuff. Is this going to justify buying this for the Nintendo Switch 2? I mean, if you didn't get the game before, I would say yeah, because of the fact that well, I think even without like the additions here, it was still worth it very much so because it's just a really really good game, just on a surface level. But Meetups in Bell Park is essentially like a multiplayer add-on, which adds a lot more multiplayer focused stuff. Which as a single player like platformer, with some cooperative stuff like woven into it, I think like Mario Wonder was like already good as itself, but like the multiplayer aspects of like kind of justify a little bit more. Or at least rather, I like that. I like the fact that they are focusing a little bit more on multiplayer stuff for Switch 2, especially the fact that they do promote a lot of communications through that via like game chat and the like, and also game share too. Also, Berkey, how's it going? I'm so hyped for Mario Galaxy 2. I'll gladly pay $40 because I love that game. You know what? And I like that attitude as well. It would be really cool though. I'm not gonna lie if it was like $30 or $20. But I mean, yeah, dude. I never had like the Nintendo Wii myself. I'm sorry. I've been given opportunities to play like Mario Galaxy, for example, but I don't believe I've been able to play Mario Galaxy 2 ever. Granted, I could just like I could storm like Phil's place right now and like just take. I mean, I'm not actually going to do it, nor can I actually do that. But what I'm trying to say is that he does have like Mario Galaxy 2 like in his library. It's the reason why he preserves those games. So that he can still enjoy it, like his family, his friends can also enjoy it. But if you don't have that type of accessibility, that's why, it's good to actually have them be made available and bring them over to the next generation. And I'm saying the same thing with Mario Brothers Wonder. Although that is like a closer time frame between Switch and like Switch 2. But yeah, honestly, I think Wonder is just really good as it is. But if you really want some like really fun multiplayer stuff, which they are really touting out with meetups in Balboa Park for the expansion, then yeah, I think that might be worth it as well. Uh, Also, Ibrahim, real quick, what do you want to say? The R Pirate subreddit actually put their hats down in honor because it's only $20. I think they're talking about Silk Song. Um, for a reasonable price for a game. Yeah, that was a funny quick aside. The fact that Silk Song was being sung praises by like I guess the piracy community, because like as much as they do their thing, they also encouraged the fact that you should buy Silk Song. You should. And I was like, wow, that's crazy that one, someone's reporting on this one, and two, they're open mic'd about it. I respect it. But yeah, so Mario Brothers Wonder Switch 2 edition will be releasing in spring 2026. So what I will probably believe what's going to happen is that this is, you know, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which you can just buy by itself, and then it could be a digital upgrade to Switch 2 edition plus meetups in Bell Park. That will probably be a $20 like additional thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that's a $20 additional add-on. So just be prepared for that. And if you really want to give them money, they're also advertising the talking flower as an individual thing that they've actually made. It's kind of like on a similar level to the Alarmo, which I actually do have on my end prior to the actual like increase in like prices for it. But this one is just seems it just seems to be just the talking flower, and there's no like additional things for it. So it'll just say random lines. People are gonna modify that thing. People are gonna modify the talking flower to say like crazy stuff. I won't elaborate on that one, but that's also going to be available spring 2026 as well. Let me see if I can actually like kind of push a little bit further out here. Yoshi in the Mysterious Book. Now, this is something I don't think I really talked about in the previous pod, or not pod, just like streams in general. But Yoshi and the Mysterious Book coming out spring 2026. It is a standalone, what seems to be a single player storybook based game for Yoshi with a very, very, very pleasant aesthetic to it. It has it focuses on like, I guess, lack of better word, subpar like frame rate to give it like a very cool aesthetic to it. The art style is like amazing. I think a lot of Yoshi standalone games have like really pursued this type of like varied art style here and there. From like, I guess, Yoshi's like Crafted World or Woolly World. I think those are two separate things. Sorry guys, I'm not an expert. But I've seen the yarn style. I've seen some other style for Yoshi as well, kind of like a more toy style thing. And now we're seeing like the storybook style of it. And I think that's just a really good thing for those to approach, just because it helps age, like they age incredibly well with that. I mean, if you look at like Wind Waker, I would probably say the same thing, where it's like it looks super solid. Like, yeah, it ages, but like also I wouldn't even complain about it, because like the art style seems to like support this instead of like hyper realism. That's aside the point. um I feel like Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is, I feel like it's a even, and I want to just point this out just for the sake of pointing this out, as far as like me just taking in everything. As someone who likes like the Kirby games, those are notoriously easy to go through unless you go into like the higher difficulty stuff, like via Forgotten Land stuff. But I feel like this might actually be a stage even easier than even Forgotten Land, for example. And that's not to its detriment. That's just simply like, I think they're catering to like an even younger audience, or just those who really appreciate Yoshi and just want like a different like take on like the character and the game. So that's all I really wanted to say. But yeah, that's cool for everybody. From there, they were pretty much done with like the Mario like heavy related news, so they wanted to jump in on the Nintendo Switch focused games that are coming out, because they still want to support that console. So they have this game called Stormlancers, made by Probably Monsters. That's a shadow drop. That just shadow dropped. The next one was Dinkum. Dinkum is kind of a Dinkum feels like a Minecraft farming sim for sure. And that one is slated to release November 5th. I feel like this might be important to note that it's actually made by Crafton, actually. So anyone who's familiar with that, I don't remember the name, but they made some games before that were showcased on like Nintendo like directs in the past. So they're returning creator, developer. Popucom is an interesting one. Yeah, okay, yeah. Popucom's interesting because it feels like Splatoon, but it's like more of a puzzle-based type of Splatoon experience. So it seems. So take that as you will. This is from like Graphline or Griffline. I don't actually know their whole like history, and I probably should have like done some background checks on them too. just to see what else they've done in the past. But that game is releasing holiday 2025. The next one, Tomodachi Life, living the dream. So previously, they talked about this in a Nintendo Switch 1 focused direct, and it was pretty much slated for 2026. People didn't know where else it was going to be, but with this particular showcase, they showed a little bit more about customization, how you're going to interact with some of your Tomodachi dudes, and they actually had updated the release time frame, so it's going to be spring of 2026. So you're seeing the pattern here. There's a lot of 2026 games here in spring. But now we have a Nintendo Switch 1 to Nintendo Switch 2 titles. Kind of varying, but I will let you guys know. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Interesting for them to show up here. So this is an interesting one. Digitally, this game is going to be coming out October 30th. And physical stuff are going to be made available December 12th of this year. And for those who don't know, Mortal Kombat has like a long history. Digital Clips, I believe, is behind this particular collection, which means you're going to see a plethora, a breadth of like, you know, background like development stories here and there. So this thing is going to be jam-packed with a lot of history regarding Mortal Kombat. So if you are a Mortal Kombat fiend, this is definitely for you. I also love the fact that this physical is like a all-in-one card type of situation, so props to them for keeping that. But, you know, I should probably also talk about the game key card situation with the next thing that they announced. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is a game that came out in the PlayStation 4 era as like a PlayStation 4 exclusive. And since then, they've released it on like PC. They've also have released Final Fantasy VII like Rebirth, which is the second in this trilogy. And now with the Switch 2 coming out, they have not only announced this for Nintendo Switch 2, not only have they like announced the release date, which is January 22nd, 2026, but they've also just said outright that, well, Square, that Final Fantasy VII Remake, as well as the entire remake trilogy, is to be coming out on Nintendo Switch 2, Xbox, PC, and PlayStation 5. So that includes that third game, which is going to be really interesting to see. But let me just kind of like focus in on, you know, Switch 2, for example, here. So it's so crazy. They immediately showed spoilers for like Remake if you haven't played it. Otherwise, without context, you should be okay. But Remake Intergrade is the full game of Remake, plus the DLC that they had added on later on, which was called Remake. Well, it's called Intermission. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's called FF7 Remake, FF7 Remake Intergrade as like a bundle, and that's to incorporate the DLC Intermission. So if you want to focus, if you just only want to talk about like the DLC, you'd be calling it Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission. Sorry guys, that always bugged me, but I wanted to say my piece about it. But essentially, this game is going to encompass all that. On top of that, if you get the physical edition, not only is it like the game key card, but it's also like a reversible art of some brand new like a brand new illustration cover for Remake. And if you guys have been following the Remake story as far as like the development of it, they've also just released like new art with Rebirth's release on PC, which happened later after like PlayStation 5's release. I noticed that. I guess, you know, if it happens twice, it happens all the time is my rule. So if we're probably going to see maybe like a touch up art piece for like, you know, Rebirth, and maybe that's it. Otherwise, they already did that for PC, so they might just kind of like copy paste that. But this is actually pretty important because, well, maybe not as important, but their physical not only has like a reversible cover art, which is the brand new illustration, but they also have their Magic the Gathering crossover. So the physical will include like just one pack of that. I believe there's some other DLC like content added on top of that, but you also will, if you do a pre-order for the physical before, you know, I think December, maybe a little prior to like January, probably December, you'll be able to get like a full like download copy of like just the OG Final Fantasy VII, which is the entire story for that one, minus any outside story stuff like Advent Children or Dirge of Cerberus if you want to like highlight that, or Crisis Core. So just or OG FF7. But this is kind of crazy because that's the only physical. I mean, if you want to get like PlayStation 5's physical, then there's also that too. But like Switch 2, that's the other only physical thing. Xbox is opting out of like physicals. It's all part of this narrative that I believe is the case. They say that they want to like support physicals for their ecosystem. Xbox, they're not doing that. Yeah, it's been telling signs of that, but that's aside the point. But game key card for Switch 2, and the reason for that is because not just money issues, because 64 gig cards are more expensive than game key cards, but also the fact that they're saying that remake integrate is like 90 to 95 like gigs, which wouldn't even fit a full size like 64 gig card if you do that math, right? So I'm over here and I'm like, okay, I totally understand that in that situation why they would want to like support game key cards there, because otherwise it's just not a complete game. Now, say that what you will when you look at like what was the other games? Oh god, what? Oh god, why am I forgetting it? Ugh. Cyberpunk 2077. That was like everything was in that card. The absolute lads that like wizard that stuff and they like put that into a 64 gig card like completely. And I thought that was pretty good for them to do that. Not to say that Square is just like lacking behind that, but if it is really like 95 gigs, then like there's no way you could put that in a cart. Like you could maybe, I don't know, like you could maybe put like Final Fantasy VII Remake into a cart, and then you would just like add in the Yuffie DLC. But even then, it's like it's still like separated content and everything like that. And when I mean Yuffie, I mean like integrates intermission aspect of it. That's a tough one. That's a really tough call. But I know that they've always been wanting to advertise integrate as just like the entire 7 experience, remake experience. Ah, tough. So it might be a mix. What I'm saying is that it might be a mix of like game key cards being cheaper, but also the fact is that they couldn't, even for the life of them, get everything in a cart. So there you have it with that one. The next thing is linked or link banner of the spark. It's like I don't know why I'm like having problems pronouncing that, but it's linked banner of the spark from Dream Haven and Fuzzy Bot that released well that day, the day of. And I guess that was a I didn't know the context of it, but someone was saying that yeah, no, that was out for PC for a little bit. So okay. I have to say it kind of looked pretty polished alongside Stormlancers. Like they both look pretty polished as like third parties. Um ooh, I want to talk about this one. I am super excited for this one. Super excited. This is Hades 2. Hades 2 has been out for early access like via Steam. Go to them because they're just like they're outright letting people enjoy the experience, but also like taking the feedback just to better improve the game. And now they have a full release date. It's coming out, believe it or not, the 25th of this month digitally. And if you want to get the physical, which obviously, yeah, I do. It's coming out November 20th, and it's not a game key card. It's everything in that card. Homie, they cooked. They cooked with that because you have to also know that for the Hades 2 reveal on this direct, they just had like what felt like 2 or 3 minutes of just animation. It wasn't necessarily just like a launch trailer per se, unless I guess they had a separate like trailer maybe on their own like respective channel, but it was just kind of like this really cool cinematic where they're just like animating all these like cool bits with oh god, what the main character's name, sorry, but it just looked really good. Like I would watch that show. I would watch that. But yeah, that's me giving them their flowers on both like ends here. Wonderful animation. And I'm also really looking forward to like the game's release. Whether you want to play that like on the 25th or do you want to just like buy the physical. That might be a double dip for me to be honest. But yeah, no, it's really good. Hades 1 is like Hades 1 with the Nintendo Switch is like, like they got that they got that audience because like that's such a really good portable game. Whether you are playing that on Switch or you're just playing it on like say your Steam Deck, it's just really good. And actually, if they are good like that, they probably would do like a cross save type of situation too. So you know, if you double dip, it doesn't really matter as long as your account's up there. Yeah, sorry guys, I got excited for that. I'm kind of iffy about the next thing here. It's Kirby Air Riders. They had an update for this one, post the whole Nintendo Direct that featured just Kirby Air Riders by itself. So the Kirby Air Riders Direct. They have amiibos. So yeah, I mean, I forgot to talk about this, but Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 also was announced alongside some supported amiibos for Mario Galaxy. So, you know, they still want to like ride the amiibo, you know, popularity as well. And I kind of can't blame them because it's fun to collect those too. But these Air Riders have very specific things. Given the fact that this is Sakurai that we're talking about, he actually had incorporated these amiibos to not just give like some little fun things here and there, but they also function the exact same way as how Smash Bros. Wii U amiibos like function, where you could actually raise that respective character in the amiibo as like a separate racer and have them learn the tracks like you would via like a kind of taking care of it, leveling it up type of situation, the exact same way as how they did with Smash Brothers. And the crazy thing about this is that this is a twofold type of amiibo function where you have the rider and you also have like the ride itself. So you can actually swap them if you have multiple amiibos of Kirby Air Riders. So far, we only have like Kirby and Waddle Dee on their own like respective. I feel no Waddle Dee has a different name for him. Bandana Cap Waddle Dee, and you could swap them out. It's actually kind of cool until you see that price point of $50 per amiibo. Oh my god! But it's like it's so cool, so I want it, but I don't want to put it. I don't have space either, but I don't want it. It's rough. It's rough out here. This is why I wanted to like talk about this being like kind of their greed arc, their greed era. But it's like it's so cool because you magnetize it on top of the ride and it's like one unit and like the respective like data just gets carried over to them. It's like man, such a good idea too, but like that comes with some money, right? Anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about that. If you really want that full experience, you got to cough up like quite a bit of money for Kirby Air Riders. That's what I'm gonna say. Uh, I will talk about Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. That has a release date of Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Kirby Air Riders amiibos are also going to be available the same day as Kirby Air Riders, the 20th of November. You know, it's also coming out in November. Age of Imprisonment. Oh no. So let me see. So, all right, Justin, you want a large Diet Coke, medium fries? No, no, no. So wait, that's my little shopping cart. Hades 2 physical, which is coming out the same day as I guess Kirby Air Riders, right? Kirby Air Riders, and also Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. Okay, okay, all right. That's coming out November 6th. That's kind of rough. Low key, that's kind of rough. Also, sorry, just want to double check. He saying, dude, the only games that I want to get is Ghost of Yote. That's smart of you. That is very smart. I admire that. I wish I just had that like level of focus. like Ghost of Yote. Like, I mean, the problem is I haven't like completed Ghost of Tsushima. I do now have like the director's cut now. Better yet, I was able to get that for like $20. So I was like, oh, yeah, of course, that made sense. But I'll have to get to that when I get to that. Unfortunately, that backlog. I got the backlog. But yeah, I do want Air Riders. I do want Hades too. I do want Age of Imprisonment. Dog, it's rough out there. Age of Imprisonment looks pretty solid so far. I think it looks like really smooth. Um, Now whether you agree that's like canonical to Tears of the Kingdom, or you think it's just kind of like, you know, more of a side story type of thing, you know, you do you. I just think that the Hyrule Warriors games have been like really fun. So there's that. I could probably hold off on this one, although I love RPGs too. But Dragon Quest VII Reimagined is coming out for Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2. That's coming out February of 2026. So that's another February game, guys. Oh God. You know, I was just talking about the amiibos and how I was suffering over there. Um, this isn't for me personally, but I understand why a lot of people would be upset about this, regardless. Hence why it's part of the thumbnail. We got an NSO update. Well, I guess I should probably talk about what else was talked about, which was the Nintendo Today app, which is just a calendar app. They essentially talked about how they have some updated themes, including Kirby, but they were also talking about Kirby Air Riders getting some like daily updates here and there. Maybe not daily, but just updates up until its release. But they're also talking about Nintendo Switch Online expansion. Yeah, Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion packs. Virtual Boy. The Mad Lads did it. I respect them for doing that. I'll talk about the bad thing afterwards. But Virtual Boy is essentially that's how we have these head things, these headsets. This is like Meta, for example, but we also have like a slew of other VR supported things. Well, Nintendo did that way back when, with the Virtual Boy to some interesting effect. Um, I could not tell you the personal experience on that one because, you know, I've only heard legends of this. But, you know, not only do you get to experience these guys possibly at a better resolution, right? But you have to buy proprietary like hardware for it that will only be available through Nintendo themselves. They have their Virtual Boy like headset almost like built from the ground up to look exactly like shot for shot like how it was when it originally released. The only downside is that it's $100. $100 for this headpiece, but they also have a cardboard version of that one coming out later at like $25. That's a big jump. It's a big jump, actually. Uh, all I can say is that I'm glad that I'm not getting it. That's just not for me, dude. But if you're someone like Philip who wants, you know, to collect all these things, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Now, you're looking at this and you're wondering, is Nintendo in the greed era? Yes. They might very much so be, if not they are. Uh, because I mean, the GameCube controller may have already told you like that bit of the story too, but like now it's like, yeah, you're right. $100, dude, for that headset. It, it's bananas. Donkey Kong bonanza. That's insane, dude. That's all I can really say. Uh, let's move on to the next thing. Oh, sorry. Uh, Virtual Boy is gonna be available February 17th. Both on Nintendo Switch and also Nintendo Switch 2. So there's at least that. You don't need the Nintendo Switch 2 to enjoy, quote unquote, enjoy the Virtual Boy experience. Make sure you save up your money. Anyway, we have Fatal Frame 2 announced. It's a remake, actually. It's Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake. This is available only on Nintendo Switch 2, I believe. It's going to be made available early 2026. I don't have much to add on to it. Phil would probably tell you a little bit more. He's actually a fan of the series too, and he's been definitely been pushing and advocating for it. But you know, it looks pretty solid. I'm not big onto it mainly because of the fact of the horror aspect. That I'm such a wuss. I'm a wuss over here. But we have some updates as far as like Nintendo, like Nintendo Switch 2 updates. We have One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. I could have sworn that game came out like a while back. But fall 2025, which is like right around the corner, it's getting an update so that more characters, more enemies will show up on screen for a Warriors game. Yeah, that's kind of a must. Especially if you can support the frame rate for it. Overcooked 2, I think this one's actually really good too, because with Overcooked, a lot of stuff occurs, and if you just have the face cam stuff like activated with that one, you can actually see like, or even assign someone's like face onto like an individual cook, so you can actually like blurt out directions to somebody a little bit better. So I think that's actually really solid. But I think out of all those ones, this one really cooked as far as like Nintendo Switch 2 updates. It's Stardew Valley. Mouse controls, baby. Split screen game share, like they went all out for Stardew Valley. That's also a farming sim game, Abraham, right there. I know that, yeah, you said that earlier, but I just like, yeah, that's one of the games that like is part of the farming sim. Not new, but it is a Nintendo Switch 2 like treated type of update. So there's that. I can honor that. Human Fall Flat was the last thing. As far as like this lineup here. Crazy how it still gets a lot of support, but I forget exactly what were the updates for Human Fall Flat, but you know, it's an update. Anyway, Power Wash Simulator 2 is coming out fall 2025. I remember that there was a Power Wash Simulator 2, but I think with Nintendo Switch 2 makes sense. Mouse controls, period. All right. I think you also like do some game sharing with that one as well. Suika Game Planet. Remember that game that took the world by storm? Suika Game? And it was like, I think it was $6, dude. $3? Nah, they shelled out. Or they showed up this time. Instead of just like a little sorry, like instead of this little container that you like put stuff in and you try to like fit everything in. Now it's an entire planet. So you're rotating and you're just dropping like plants wherever to match them up to get the watermelon. Okay. Yeah, all right. This was crazy. And always, and I'm also talking about the pricing here too. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Almost verbatim, I was saying like, what is this? Oh, this looks like Metroid. Is it Metroid? It is Metroid. Samus, what are you do? Is that a bite? What are we doing? And you see Samus riding this bike in a third person, kind of akin to how I remember traversing some of those desert regions on planets in Mass Effect. That was not obviously like a big thing for that game. It was just kind of like traveling in between different different stations and whatnot, bases here and there when you needed to. So I guess it's gonna be to that same effect. But essentially, Samus can get on this motorcycle that looks kind of like her too, right? Uh, and she'll just ride around, and you'll be interacting with some enemies here and there. Otherwise, if you want to like hop out of that bike, you totally can. There have been bits and pieces where you're just out in the wilderness and you're just fighting like essentially like wolf packs of like aliens and whatnot. It was kind of crazy. But on top of that, we did get a release date. December 4th. It barely makes the cut for releasing this year. But that's not all. This also gets amiibo. I didn't dare to check out the prices for this one, but like there you go. Listen, I have the Metroid Dread amiibos like back there. I think you might be able to see them. I think if anything, you could see the Emmy in the furthest corner, and right next to Emmy is Samus, just like it's a cool suit. That's what I want to say. I don't know how I feel about the Beyond suit. It's kind of like it's kind of like a more red. I'm trying to remember what was the third other thing about it. It's kind of like more reddish in black. Not quite like the Phazon suit in Metroid Prime. It's kind of like more like inverted colors, so there's a lot more red. So I don't know how I feel about that one. But I mean, you gotta go with some change, you know? Otherwise, yeah, the release date finally, you know? Finally. So what is that? I don't think that there was really any big Nintendo related game for like this month, I don't believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But October is Pokemon. November is oh shoot, it's over here. I guess technically speaking, November is Hyrule Warriors. If not Kirby Air Riders. If you want to just talk strictly first party. And then December is Metroid. And then I don't remember from the top of my head what's happening January, aside from like some third parties like Final Fantasy. We might actually discover that later on. But you know what's crazy? Was the fact that we got a $20 DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza before we got any DLC for Mario Kart World. Mind-boggling in my opinion. But I don't think for not like in a bad way either, you know. Also, sorry guys, I see cheap followers. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm just gonna block that one right there. So the DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza revolves around DK Island as like a place to revisit. I believe that there's also was it banananium gems? I may have added an extra syllable there, but so essentially with that one, you're able to revisit DK Island. You're also able to check out this other new like additional add-on mini game if you beat the game, where you get to like join up with Void Company and you do these like what seems to be roguelike runs of which you're trying to get the best score, and once you get that like better score, you can actually redeem it for like rewards here and there and like a title and everything like that. That's kind of what the reward is, but otherwise it seems to be a pretty fun little roguelike gallery of things where you'll just kind of go through the stages. You'll earn like gems to like do some upgrades that are like randomized and everything like that. So the roguelike feature is there in a 3D platformer. It's kind of interesting, you know? But yeah, it's $20, which is also part of the debate of people talking about, you know, the variable pricing and the fact that it's Nintendo's greed era. I get it. I get the conversations. I don't know if we really want to like tag that on when it comes to like DLC made after the fact. We'll talk about that actually very soon too, because I think I will just kind of move on to that one so I can chain it later on. But we get a little Pokemon corner actually. Pokemon actually shows up for a Nintendo Direct here and there, and the first game that they showed off, which I actually kind of appreciate, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air for me for the franchise, is what was it? Pokemon Pokopia. Kind of a crazy name, but essentially it's like Minecraft Dragon Quest Builders, but it's a Pokemon game. You play as a Ditto, and you know, regardless of the story of the Ditto, I would like to know more about that. But essentially, it transforms into like a human to the best of its abilities, and will roam around and encounter other Pokemon that are just trying to like just live out the land. And in this like cube by cube type of like, you know, world, you're able to interact with these Pokemon, copy their abilities as a Ditto, and actually just help to manipulate the terrain to however you see fit, create like a little community of Pokemon, and that's kind of the name of the game. So it is kind of a farming simulator type of situation. I kind of like that. I'm not saying it's like completely like unique, because like clearly there is like, it's giving me, you know, Dragon Quest Builders, it's giving me like Minecraft, And honestly, when you make like a cube-like world, then everything's gonna be Minecraft associated. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sorry, the truth is the truth. But I still appreciate the fact that Pokemon's kind of like, taking different like risks here and there, even if it's a pretty safe calculated risk. The fact that they're just changing up the formula a little bit, I appreciate that. I'm not gonna lie to you, like aside from some other like games here and there, I do like the idea of a Pokemon game that doesn't really focus on battling, really, but just kind of focuses on like just the individual Pokemon experience, like almost taking care of them in a way. Like I can see them trying to make like a Nintendogs type of like racing your Pokemon type of thing. Obviously, I think they might want to refine that idea. I don't know if people really would like a Nintendogs like Pokemon type of thing. Like we see a little bit of that. You even see that in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet where you get to like, you know, during the picnics you can actually just like scrub them clean. You can wash them. So there's a little bit of that for sure. You can play with them in Pokemon Sword and Shield over the fact, like with like fetching. I think you can still do that too. You just like you kick a football and your Pokemon will just like run and grab for it like when you're at the picnic and whatnot. That's aside the point. But I'm trying to remember what else I wanted to say. But yeah, ultimately I kind of like the idea of Pokopia. That's releasing 2026. Okay. Now we just jump into like Legends ZA. So Pokemon has definitely been promoting Legends ZA heavy. Uh, quite so because of the fact that it's coming out next month. But they have been promoting Mega Evolutions, which I think is probably like their strongest like thing in their pocket to promote. So what is it? It's been like Halucha, it's been Victory Bell. Malamar was recently announced as a Mega Evolution. It's got like a crazy like brain looking look to it. As a terror, like it had that before, but like now it's like more brain like, and he like slimmed down a little bit. And he has like these constantly like twirling like tentacles that like hypnotizes people. It's a huge manipulator, even back when it was not mega formed. So, or should I say hypnotizer? I think depending on the circumstances, I think they're kind of the same in that regard. But what I'm trying to say here is that the mega evolutions that they chose to show this time was the Kalos starters. We're not even talking about like the starters that have been like already established in Legends ZA, but we're talking about Delphox, we're talking about Chestnut and Greninja. I'm gonna say this. I can't believe they got away with another form for Greninja. But it makes sense. I get it. But I was thinking that we also get like megaforms for like Meganium, for Alligator and Embor, and we still might, but they're coming out with like mega evolutions for that one. Also, Pumpkin, how's it going? Pumpkin saying, hi, the big sorry, hold on. I think I have to like click off of that so I can see the rest of the text. The big games industry is the greed arc, and I hope Helldivers, Silk Song, Clear Obscure are the first games of the dawn of the big studio. Except for CD Project Red, I think, because I want Cyberpunk too. I see what you mean. Unfortunately, I think the situation is that big companies need like it's a big team, so they need to make profit. They also need to like pay their employees, probably more than they actually do. Uh so what ends up happening is that you kind of have to raise the prices for those just to make that work. You can probably see that like I think maybe Team Cherry could do that one because they kind of want to like respect like players as well. Uh Maybe even more so for them to get paid, but they also have a smaller team, so it kind of works out for them. Otherwise, if they were really like were forward into like, oh, we want to make sure that everyone has that, and they just like what hypothetically, if they charge it like $10, then they still might probably make a profit out of it, but does it outweigh like how much like they've like spent on that? You know, team dinners, resources, the power it took, I think it's a little dicey. I think when you really look at like the grand scheme of things, like there's a lot of breakdown as to like what goes into like making a game. And the further up the ladder that you go, or the bigger the corporation and like development team, you find that it costs a lot more. Even if like one could argue that like, oh, this doesn't look like everyone looks at Scarlet Violet like this does not look like a $60 game, bro. This looks like this came straight out of the PlayStation like 2, 3, if I was being generous. Stuff like that. People talk about that, right? And it's just one of those things where it's like, well, I can't listen, guys. I wasn't in the meeting with them, so I can't say whether or not like it was worth it. I'm not sure how they split it up, but like different development teams and whatnot, different resources. And I feel like the fact is that you need to kind of pay like your employees well. So whether they did or not, you see those prices going up there. Also, marketing. You're right. Promoting like the game is also very important, especially if you're an indie team. Sorry, I'm not trying to derail from like what we're trying to talk about. I actually wanted to bring this up because it has something to do with the DLC for Donkey Kong. But on top of the Mega Evolutions, right, for the Kalos starters, they also just announced, you know, upfront that like, hey, we're coming out with some paid DLC for Legends ZA. It's called Mega Dimensions, I believe, and it's featuring the big pull for it is Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y. I don't know if that's the actual government names for them, but let's just assume that they are. Um, so that's paid DLC. We don't know how much that's going to be actually at the end of the day, but the fact is that some additional information such as Hollow X and Hollow Y apparel, whatever that means, that's going to be available 10/16. So I think the release date of Legends ZA. But the additional story content, which will probably feature Raichu X and Raichu Y, will probably come out at a later date. So DLC upfront before the game releases. I kind of have a problem. I don't have the strongest opinion though. I think it kind of sucks when like we as like the consumers like pay essentially a premium price for like some of these games, and they tell you like prior to the release that like, oh hey, we got DLC coming on their way, so it's not the full price of the game. Kind of sucks because you would like all the content in there, but you don't want to like spend like more and more and more and more money, right? Especially up front. Like I think it became a little bit more normalized for me when I was playing through Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter like Rise for me in this case, where I spend like $60 for the game, and you know we have like a year or two of just playing through like that base game and just having a ball with that one. And they're like, oh hey, we got some big stuff. We got this whole like title update here. Um, in this case, it's like Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, and you're gonna pay $40 for that DLC. And some people will look at that and be like, that's absolutely crazy. Other people are like, bet. And the crazy thing is that they're gonna do the exact same thing. Would you say that's being greedy as a game developer? And I can see both. You know, you could say that like, well, why not make it like $30? You know, especially if it causes people to buy like the full game again, or sorry, not again, but like it grabs other people like in the audience to like do that. Or does it offset like the development that it took to make those like updates to the existing games, you know? And I understand that, you know, even when a game is done, you know, there's a I'm sorry, brain fart. I totally forgot what I was going to try to say. Uh there's like a end date, there's a time crunch, there's a synonym for like a short time frame of like you making the game to like how when it should release versus when it is finished. So there ends up being a time crunch, so therefore not every single thing can be like implemented into a game. I get that. And maybe like as a developer, maybe you want to add something else into there. I get that. But I also believe that it's starting to become more of a natural thing that we're starting to, well, these companies are starting to capitalize on that. So DLC is starting to become a norm as well. to just withhold like additional like content that doesn't seem relevant to like the main focus of the game itself, and then just like put that under a paywall or something like that. I see both sides of arguments. Like, hey, listen, I think we should pay like the developers more for what they do, especially if they do it post the game's release. But also at the same time, like as a consumer, you feel like you don't have a complete game under your belt when you buy it day one. You know, it's a it's tough. Also, sorry, Pumpkin, I didn't mean to ignore too much. Let me check back on. Let me read up actually. So after the cyberpunk bit right there, half of the budget goes for marketing, and half of it the rest pays to the boss. Also, God, all right, yeah, I now know that there's an ad break coming up over on Twitch side. I just wish that like my Twitch chat window wasn't as small, so that like when I get a notification for ad breaks, it just obscured from like. That's pretty much what it is. Like I see it like in this size, and then when the ad break comes in, it just like cuts off like visibility to like that. Here, let me see if I can still read all this. Um, it's not the need that made sorry. It's not the need that made the games cost 80, but the greed. Well, it's my point of view, but I hope indie studios will keep making great games, right? For me, a good DLC is like the one with like Cyberpunk. DLC should like fall wait, should fell is bonus content or feel like bonus content and not something that should have like been on the base game. Okay, yeah. So like I get that, and I think I can like totally agree with that, where like it feels additional. It doesn't feel mandatory, you know? And one could say, I guess, in the case of like Donkey Kong and Pokemon, for example, you know, whether it's made like before or after, you know, the game's release, and they can kind of be like on the same like timeline here because of the fact that Donkey Kong came out just like a month ago or so. And now we're just getting the DLC for this one. Like it's not exactly focused in, and I feel like if you play through Donkey Kong Bonanza by itself without like the DK Island stuff, granted I haven't played myself, but it seems all additional content, then you don't need it. And hopefully when you play through Legends ZA, the story-based content, the story beats here and there, will just be its own like standalone type of experience, and you won't really need this additional like Mega Dimensions like DLC that features Mega Raichu, Mega Raichu Y. I think what becomes an issue, especially in the Pokemon community, I think it also stems to that. It's the fact that like it it might be supported, but it might be, as far as accessibility, that might be an exclusive thing behind a paywall, you know? I think you can also look at Scarlet and Violet, for example, and they do have like their hidden treasures of Area Zero as like a whole expansion pack that was like what, 30 to 40 bucks, you know, at the time too, where like they give you a lot. And to be honest, it is kind of standalone stuff when you look at the base game versus like the additional content. So fair. But also like if you're big on Pokemon, right, and the entire franchise, you would want the exclusive stuff to be part of like the main base game, you know? And you might be able to do that through some certain timed events, but it's also really it's different, you know? Because, you know, if I, for example, am starting Scarlet and Violet like brand new, and I realized that like, dude, there's like 900 other Pokemon out there. How am I going to fill up this entire Pokedex with that? And it's like, oh, you can, especially with the legendaries. It's like, oh, how do I get the legendaries? Like, oh, you have to, you either, well, you could buy the games, have like some supported hardware that can like connect to like Pokemon Home and everything like that, or Pokemon Bank, what have you, etc., etc., or you buy the DLC. And the DLC would just be like an extra little bit here and there, but it's otherwise locked behind a paywall, that type of thing. I also think that might be like an entitled type of like argument for some. That's like, I can't believe you would put this behind a paywall, so I have to get like Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y, and I have to like buy like 30 or 40 additional dollars for it, and you know, yada 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 yada. Like I get that argument too. So I don't know. I think I'm glad that I don't really need to go catch them all. But if you're a diehard fan and you're just gonna make the complaint about it, I kind of get that. Sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to really like spend too much time on that one. How long have we been chatting for? Actually, an hour and a half. Oh boy. Interesting. Also, sorry, Pumpkin. Let me double check if I. Okay, here's the other thing. After my opinion isn't objective, when I speak about Cyberpunk, I love the game. Its top one is like Cyberpunk Edge Runner's like top one in anime. Favorite character is Rebecca from Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is the dark universe that I would be okay to live in. That is so crazy. That's a crazy take. Listen, I haven't even played like Cyberpunk like that. So maybe it's an okay world to live in, but if you live within like the perspective of like say Lucy, then it's like this is the worst place. This is the worst. Anyway, that's aside the point here. Anyway, DLC, additional content stuff. That's also part of the debates here and there. And I don't think anyone's right or wrong about their opinion about like DLC. It's just kind of like, you know, I think you have to like keep yourself personal opinion here. I think when it comes to like really observing and making your own decision on whether you want to participate in like said like additional content, whether that be DLC or the amiibos or the Virtual Boy $100 headset. It's about, putting yourself in an echo chamber of, well, maybe not an echo chamber. I think you need to isolate yourself from anyone's opinion and you have to like really formulate your own and kind of, I wouldn't say it's just stick with it, also be open-minded about it, but also just kind of like really look within yourself and see why you reason it to be okay for you specifically. Also, Pumpkin says I don't like Lucy. I understand that. I understand that. I think all the characters are pretty good. I think unfortunately I feel so bad for Edge Runners as far as like all the cast members because they essentially all just go. They all just they all just get deleted for lack of better words. And just for, um monetizing friendly sakes. Um the next game here. By the way, we're still talking about the direct here. Danganronpa 2x2. 2x2, 2x2, however you want to pronounce it as. That is on Nintendo Switch 1, Nintendo Switch 2. I can't say anything about Danganronpa. I just know it's a series that has stayed longer than I would have ever like anticipated that series to stay. And you know what? For that fan base, I'm happy for y'all. I think Phil is also part of that fandom too. I think he'd be into it as well. But um, next thing, Dynasty Warriors Origins. I forgot it was gonna get. I'm not sure if you even talked about it getting on Switch 2. I just know it was gonna be on different platforms and whatnot. But I mean, not bad. Also with DLC as well, releasing January 22nd. Is there another game coming out January 22nd? Was it Final Fantasy? What the hell? Why is it coming out the same day as Final Fantasy? Why are we just doing that? Hey, listen. You could be Horizon though. You could pick the worst times to like release. And you know what? Dynasty Warriors Origins already had like their thing. They already had like the release date. So that and Final Fantasy. So it's not as bad, but that's crazy. That's insane. Anyway, I can't say I have a lot to say about Dynasty Warriors, but it is nice that they are showing up on Switch too. This one I'm actually kind of psyched for, although admittedly I haven't really been playing through any of it. Monster Hunter Stories 3. Previously it was announced not too long ago actually. It's called Full Government is Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflections. It was coming out at a later date. We didn't know, and with this direct, it has been confirmed to be releasing March 13th of 2026. Not bad. Not bad. I don't really have much else to say with it. I honestly wish I'd given myself more time to play through Stories 1 and 2. But they are available on Switch, so not bad, not bad. I also think they're available on different platforms too, like PC. So everyone's good. Everyone's good. Next one is a whole sizzle reel. This is where Sega cooked. This is where Sega was out for the most part. They got 2 Point Museum that's coming out on the 28th of October. Disguise 7's from NIS America, right? October 10th. EA Sports from EA. So it's EA Sports FC 26 coming out on the 26th of this month. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake, both Switch 1 and Switch 2. That's coming out October 30th. Not bad, not bad. Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage is coming out in winter. So not bad, not bad. Lego Voyager's coming out on the 15th, so very soon. For some of you watching this later on, it's already out. Little Nightmares 3, October 10th. Persona Reload is also coming out October 23rd. Ibrahim is totally psyched about that one. And that's pretty much it for the sizzle reel. Real quick before we move on to things, just double checking with Pumpkin. Yeah, I don't like Lucy, but from there it was like, have your opinion listens to the opinion. Wait, what? Have your opinions listens to other opinions and make a new one with the two. Oh, that's fair. I think I understand what you mean. So essentially, have your opinion. Also, be open-minded to hear other people's opinions, and based on both of those, generate or cultivate like a new one. Essentially, whether it be like pretty much an addendum to what you already have, you know. But yeah, with it's like universe. It's a lot of people like dying in Cyberpunk, and that's kind of what CD Projekt Red's all about. They want to come up with like worlds that feel like very real, very dark. And I still respect that quite a bit. I am really interested in seeing like Witcher 4. So Pumpkin's asking, why do you like Nintendo? And please, not that it's the first console and everything. Like, why do you like it now? I like, and so weird. I like the portability. I feel like I like that personal feeling of it. Yeah, you have a console. You have one sitting at your desk here and there, and technically your Switch can be it. But the hybrid approach, maybe I can't say I like Nintendo now. Well, I mean, I can give you a reason why I like Switch and Switch 2 now. It feels very personal. That having like these little game key cards, like it's always like something different. Like I like discs and everything like that, but I also kind of like these little guys right here. I like Nintendo generally speaking because I just like the franchises like behind them. I do like Pokemon. Really starting to like Donkey Kong as a bonanza. I love the Mario games. I like Fire Emblem quite a lot. I like Zelda quite a lot. And I feel like I can list off a lot more franchises of things I like that you can only really find through like Nintendo versus like other platforms. Having said that though, I do like God of War. I'm pretty fresh off of like the fandom here where it's like God of War is like for me is the 2018 one and also Ragnarok. Those are fantastic. I do like the Marvel Spider-Man series so far. Even though obviously Spider-Man is just like a huge franchise like outside of like PlayStation, but as far as the games there, it's super good. Ibrahim was talking about Ghost of Yote. I do really want to get into Ghost of Tsushima, but Sucker Punch is like really knocking out of the park, generally speaking, and I would love to like get to know like a lot of their games. But yeah, Spider-Man's fun. Spider-Man's a lot of fun to play. Because it like especially like Marvel Spider-Man, because they really seem to have like found I'm not sure if, I think in its own way they've kind of tweaked the formula to make it their own, but also make it like really enjoyable. But I love the web swinging from there. It is nice. Also, Astrobot, really good. I'm not sure if I could say like I love PlayStation as a whole, but there's definitely a lot of franchises within PlayStation that I really, really like. And I can't say that I want to like fully like assimilate into Nintendo. Sure, I like the form factor of like their physical media, sure. And I do like their controllers, well, the Pro controller really, and the console itself, but Could I say like I'm a big fan of Nintendo? I don't know if I could say I am like the biggest fan. I guess I could say I'm a fan just because of like the different franchises that they continue to support. So fair enough. Um, and how it just kind of gets waved under one banner of Nintendo, but I think that's kind of like how I'd best describe it. Otherwise, it's cool that like the form factor of like Switch. That's something I really really like. Even though I, for the most part, will just like dock it and just play it like that. But if given the chance, you can just play handheld. Yeah, you are a fan. Just look at the like shelf behind you. That's the unfortunate part because like I want to say I'm a fan of like the different games, but you have to choose a platform, right? Whether it be like Nintendo, whether it be Xbox further down here, whether it be PlayStation further down there, or it's just on your PC and you just don't see the library there. But yeah, okay. Sorry, y'all. Also, wait, what the hell was that? I was gonna say, what the hell? Oh, weird. Sorry, it was my little Google Nest thing that has been muted for like a good while. Just like turned itself back on. I was like, what the hell was that? Oh no, that was weird. It's plugged in a separate outlet. Anyway, let me finish the last bit of it because we're almost done. So the last couple bits here. Resident Evil 9 Requiem and Resident Evil 7 8. All of that on the Switch 2. February 27, 2026. So full government names: Resident Evil 9 Requiem. These ones I might butcher a little bit. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard or Resident Evil Biohazard Gold Edition, as well as Resident Evil 8 Village or just Resident Evil Village Gold Edition. That's crazy. Not only are you putting Resident Evil 9, dude, on the Switch too, I can't even fathom that. But I can fathom them putting Resident Evil like 7 and 8 on Switch too, because previously it was available on Switch through cloud gaming. Trifling. I can tell you that like I think streaming games is kind of a cool alternative, but it shouldn't be like the only option you have. That's where I'm like, I gotta put my foot down. I gotta tell you, like it's fun to have like different options, but I don't think that's a primary way you should enjoy games, to be honest with you. Um Pumpkin was asking, oh actually I'll let me answer that after the fact here. So I am super curious as to how Resident Evil 9 is gonna function on Switch too. It probably will be very limited. I don't think you're gonna be there to like witness like performance on Switch 2. PlayStation has like touted itself, especially the PlayStation 5 Pro, as like the most powerful console. Otherwise, get a PC. But I'm so curious as to how well it's gonna perform and look. Um, next thing, Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem, I already told you guys that's a favorite of mine as a franchise. I quick history. I remember watching my brother play through the first GBA Fire Emblem game in the West. That's technically called the Blazing Sword, if I recall. The one with Lyn. And then I remember playing that myself, really enjoying that. I remember playing the demo, which actually I think what happened chronologically is I played the Fire Emblem Awakening demo a good while after that game released, and I enjoyed that. So I bought that game like soon afterward and just fell in love with the Fire Emblem series. And it might be the reason why a lot of people like revitalized Fire Emblem since Awakening, because Awakening was going to be the final game. Since then, Nintendo is happy. They will be happy to like promote like another Fire Emblem game. Hence, we have a good number of years later, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Fortune's Weave, Weave. It's coming out in 2026. We don't know anything else beyond that, but it does look like Fortune's Weave is kind of a possible sequel, just based on like what we've seen of Three Houses. Maybe. It's gonna cause a lot of discourse for sure, as far as like what's going on with Fire Emblem's like timeline for Three Houses. But the main thing you should know that makes the connection is one, the weapon that like one of the dudes has, the Alucard looking dude. He has like one of the very interesting looking boned looking swords with the weird core at the center. So I don't know. So I don't really know that part, but I do know Sothis as a deity that just kind of lives within you, Byleth. But she's a lot older looking now as a deity, so I'm like, what is this like in the far distant future? And will we have like that type of connection between like three houses and whatnot, or is it just gonna be a loosely like, yeah, like that did happen, but it's also the same way as how Awakening is a far flung sequel to like the original like Fire Emblem game featuring Marth, so it's like Shadow Dragon. So maybe it might be just like that, where it's loosely connected. They also said the same thing about Fates with Awakening, or it's like weird quick aside. I think Fates is like it's its own world, right? But considering that Awakening mentions this in DLC form, that it's a legend, it's a story, and it's like, wait, what? Like far flung future, far flung past, or like an imaginary world? It's like, oh god, now we're getting meta about it. Anyway, yeah, I'm 100% looking forward to Fire Emblem. All right, that's everything Nintendo Direct. I do have a couple things I want to just like leave off of, considering the fact that I did title the stream as it is. Let me just check with Pumpkin over here. Uh, why a lot of people are like against the Switch 2? And let me just like double check here. Okay. Uh, there's a fair reason why people are against the Switch 2. Some people argue the fact that it's just not like a really good generational upgrade from like Switch 1. It does not feel like particularly like innovating versus like say GameCube versus like Nintendo Wii. Like aesthetically, you look at those two, and you're like, that's a huge jump in as far, or maybe not a huge jump, but like a just a shift. Um, but the problem is that a lot of the narratives from every single person kind of gets skewed, or rather, it just gets murky because you look at the general audience and mass take on it. So one's experience as to an explanation as to why they don't like theirs might be different from someone else. So take that as like a warning thing. Prices as well. I think people say that the Switch 2 is still pretty weak. So for them, I think power like in a console and running a game is probably the priority versus like innovation or like creativity in that case, which for the most part gets handled by like the devs working with the console kit, you know? Also like the recent absorbent prices, I understand that. So, I think for me personally, the price of the Switch 2, 450, is kind of fair in comparison to what it was previously, like $300, if not 350 for the OLED and everything like that. Um, $80 games. Someone had to do it. Nintendo was unfortunately the first one, like front and center in April, to have to announce that. That's an economy thing. But unfortunately Nintendo is the one who wears the mask first. There's probably a couple other reasons, but yeah, that's probably like a few of those. Pumpkin's also saying, honestly, get a PC only. If you have a lot of money and if you are using it for like other things than play, or if you want like to mod a game or it's only on PC, then it's just, to like play console and do the thing, great. Pumpkin's saying that they're a PC player. Fair enough, fair enough. It is cool. I would love to just personally just like I mean, technically speaking, you could play everything on like the PC regardless. It's just like the amount of grit and how much you're willing to do for it. I think what I like about well, for me as like I'm primarily a console gamer, mainly because like that's kind of how I grew up, so therefore, that's gonna just be how it is. That's not to say that like I like Nintendo because NES just so happened to be the first console I was able to play on. Not necessarily, but it's just the fact that it's these days it's like super convenient to play games like on console. It just kind of is because you don't have to go finagling around settings here and there like if it crashes a lot because when it comes down to it, it's about optimization too for game devs. I remember Maximilian dude talking quite a bit. He's one who like plays who would play on PC if given the opportunity because he wants like the highest quality to be played, but also can like be lenient about like just console exclusivity here and there. That happens. Um Sorry, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, he said before that the thing is with PC gaming is that unless you have every intention to play it on PC as a dev, it will otherwise be really unoptimized. Like sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't, but like sometimes you end up falling like having to jump a couple more hoops to make it an optimized experience. Now the offset of that, the counter argument is the fact that well you can make it like optimal for you, if it ain't like something where like the game crashes upon booting, or like there's a huge PC bug, whatever have you, then at the very least, then you can like, upgrade your PC to be able to run the games like a little bit more smoothly and should like fix the problem. Like for example, like I think, well, the problem with I remember that there was a huge issue with Monster Hunter on PC where it's not as optimal. I haven't really come across a lot of those issues, but apparently that was quite a bit of a thing that people experience. Whereas, like if you play it on console, not necessarily an issue. It's less performative, I'll tell you that much. But also at the same time, like you don't really have too many things happening where like. But the problem is that that game will crash, I believe, reportedly from like both ends. So it's tough, Also, another thing Pumpkin said, like I had a Switch, had a PS4, but PC is just like the thing for me, and that's great because I think PC is just like a really easy like go-to because everyone kind of relies on a PC to just do the day-to-day thing, not just game here and there. So if you have a really decent running PC, you can just like run your task here and there, and when you're done, you boot up a game, and then there you go. Some people have just like made a PC just for gaming, and that's also been working out for them too. But yeah, it's kind of tough here and there. Also, what's going on? Something build a PC 35. Oh, 10 hours to build a PC, 35 of troubleshooting to find what I have to overclock the PC to make it stable, and 250 CHF. Yeah, I was motivated. See, that's kind of an issue, especially if you're building a PC from the ground up just to play games and not just for, like just generally speaking. It's just not. I mean, granted, everything can break. Everything can break. So everyone's experience can be different. But the idea is that the console is just it's just the most user friendly thing, or at least they try to, right? Where like you just set up a couple things and it's like boom, ready to go. And that's a nice thing. I really like that. Also, yeah, CHF equals Swiss franc. So it's like, oh, so it's $2,500. Okay, thank you for doing the conversion there. That makes sense now. Yeah, they're also PC is also pretty expensive, but the caveat is that you can price range it for your needs. So you don't need to like shell out so much money to make games run pretty well. Like you can run on a budget. You can even buy like those little mini PCs, and it should run decently if you're not running like AAA games. We're kind of diverging from the point here. But yeah, that's pretty much the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Direct featuring Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. This is I wanted to talk about the whole thing about like is Nintendo in their greed era. I'm gonna tell you my opinion. Yeah. Yes they are. And you know what, if you're in their shoes and you've had like a really successful console, I'd understand it. But I also think they should be a little bit more cautious about like how they're proceeding this forward. I think how they were cautious about like releasing a new console. What the hell? Oh, sorry, y'all. My light just died over there. It makes it all focus in on me, but like I forgot. Yeah, no, I need to charge like the little portable battery for that thing. So don't worry, guys. It's just a little portable thing. Thankfully, it's not nothing like technically like, oh god, we lost that. Redline the motherboard, but it works so I don't touch anything. Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, the thing is I personally would have wanted them to still carry on, and maybe they still are, where they have like this new console still, and it is more powerful, and they are going back and they're really treating up like their old games with a little bit more like of a premium touch to them as far as like giving them upgrades and everything. The problem is that it appears greedy because of the fact that they're charging prices for some stuff here and there. $80 for Mario Kart like upfront versus like the 70 for Donkey Kong, but I think you kind of understand why. I think you understand why now when you have like a DLC like on top of that one. But it, you know, I also understand that everything can't be absolutely uniform, so that's why they have like a variable pricing on everything. Uh Today's economy doesn't help either. So there is also that. Virtual Boy is a very unique scenario. I can appreciate the fact that they want to go back into these older consoles so that everyone has an experience with them and it doesn't just simply die of obscurity and just relatability, I guess, relevancy. But the fact is that you actually need to play Virtual Boy, like demandably you need to have Virtual Boy. I think that's kind of like I don't really like that much about it. I wish that they could just not do that and somehow make it like the fact is that I can actually like just see someone like portray a screen of what was it, tennis on the Virtual Boy. Like if you could somehow make it like that and you can still play it like that, like from handheld to dock, then I think that would be great. But like, do I really need to like put a headset on? Like, couldn't that just be like a separate thing for like the diehards? Yeah, like you can still charge like $100. You could still like get some heat from that, but I would also be a little bit more understanding if you had it be an optional thing, 100% optional. Although you should probably have like marked it down to maybe like make it the price of one of your controllers, like 30, 40, 50, like somewhere in the ballpark there. 100 seems a little bit much, but maybe that's just because of the rising costs. I don't know. That's the problem. I really don't know. Um, I I will say, and I kind of maintain this, I don't really like the kind of impression it leaves on somebody when you have a game that's coming out and then you already announce a paid DLC on top of it after the fact. I would prefer that you just have the game stand by itself for a while and then come up with like DLC later on. It's like how people will still buy like Monster Hunter, but they know that they'll have like a completed version of Monster Hunter with like a title update like later on in the future. But the caveat is that they have to wait like several years for it to like to get tagged on and also be like on sale. So there's also like that argument there too. But otherwise it feels kind of like incomplete to like play a game and the DLC comes out like, well, sorry, let me reword that. It feels incomplete when you play a game and it already has paid DLC, and that paid DLC isn't just like, oh, like more cosmetics and everything like that. Like, I guess that's kind of okay. Although, like, same question, why wasn't that incorporated? Um, but when you actually have like actual like updated quests and storyline stuff, then I get that. Then I kind of get like why couldn't that been like added in there, especially when it's announced ahead of time, prior to the release. Also, she hello. Sorry, I'm trying to read that name there. But yeah, I'm definitely sorry, just reading off the chat here. Yeah, I'm definitely getting that Virtual Boy, not really to play it, but like more as a keepsake. My dad's first gaming system was the Virtual Boy. That's crazy. And I spent a lot of hours on it as a kid, but I lost it being like a dumb kid. It's a good memory for me. Fair. That's super fair. I think if I didn't know any better, I probably would have gone like I guess the NES Classic, if not like the classic controllers. But as much as I had memories of playing that, playing Mega Man 6, dude, that's pure joy for me. But it wasn't enough for me to get like those NES controllers even now. But everyone's kind of different with the nostalgia and like what they want to like have as memorabilia. But I do like the fact that Nintendo like will go out of their way, or in this case, and the controllers thus far with like Nintendo classics, that they'll make like the peripherals for the respective like console and literally recreate it for just like nostalgia, maybe also for keepsakes as well as collecting and everything like that, because otherwise you have to like rely on the third market, and they will not only be maybe not as functioning, but they'll also just have like a degrading feel to them, whether you don't see the button options or it's absolutely slimed the hell out and you're like, what the that type of thing. Also, Pumpkin actually had like an ad for Mario Kart and for Twitch itself. That's funny. Oh yeah. Oh dude, I was such a dumb kid. We had the Nintendo Blaster. Granted, it has absolutely no use, right? It has no use like in the future, right? Or rather, unless you sell it third party wise, then maybe there. But otherwise, like, for yourself, it was so dumb because like I loved that Nintendo Zapper for the NES. As a kid, I was so dumb. Granted, this was after, we stopped playing the NES, but I snipped the cord so it could just be like a gun. It could just be a gun. So like whenever I'm playing with it as a kid, I'm like pew pew pew, and I'm not having to drag the cable. Like, no, I was so dumb, dude. Would have slapped myself for that one. It's like, dog, don't do that. Granted, I think my dad actually got that like as an inheritance thing. I don't think he actually bought that like as a full price thing. But that was such a dumb thing as a kid. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't do that. Sorry, that was not the greatest memory for me to remember. But other than that, playing Mega Man 6, that was a great time. Playing like OG Mario, that was kind of okay. I don't think I was that like hooked on to Mario Brothers back then. But I appreciate where it came from. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things where like you kind of wonder like the pricing of things. You know, it is nice to have all these different like add-ons for Nintendo, but things such as like the price of Virtual Boy, the premium Virtual Boy little thing, and Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 being $40 each, $70 as a bundle, so it kind of like falls within Nintendo's variable pricing, but in like the more expensive route of things. Like at the like it's weird because at the very least they can be like, "Oh, we're not charging full price for like Mario Galaxy because it's an older game. Like why would we do that?" Looks at Skyward Sword HD at $60 at the release date, sure. And also Metroid Prime Remaster at $30 retail. Crazy stuff. Listen, I was not in the meeting, so I couldn't tell you what the consistency was or the consensus was. But they're saying that like, oh yeah, it's $40, so it's not like quite full price. But if you get them together, it is the $70 price point. Or if you don't care to do that and you want to buy them later on, it's like $40 each, totaling $80. So it's like, okay. I think I'm personally okay with it. And unfortunately, I'm just simply projecting what a lot of people are just spitting out there on Twitter/X, which is a completely volatile website just to get the most extreme of opinions. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's nice to get information from there, but it's not really great when you want to really hear an honest to goodness like take on like from someone, because unfortunately there's a lot of ignorance there. And we're all kind of ignorant to a certain extent, but I think it gets really unfiltered because over there, kind of similar to how YouTube thumbnails work, funny enough, but the takes there, like the more negative it is, the more engagement it receives. So therefore, not only is it for, people to like try to express their opinions and get some validity. Sorry, I was like validity, like validity, right? It's also because it engages a lot more with people. So but you do find some like decent gems out there where it's like it's an honest to goodness like take where it's like I understand like these are the goods and the bads of this game. I just like that game. So therefore, like for example, here's my take. Here's my take right here. Sonic Adventure 2. It's my favorite game. It's one of my favorite games. It's not great. It's pretty good. I think overall, I think people will say it's a fair game. It exists. It's not the worst thing in the world. But I love it. I think it's great. Because it just has a lot of memorabilia to it. Also, Chow Garden. Chow Garden's like goated there. But that's my take. I also understand that not a lot of people like the varied like gameplay for Sonic Adventure 2. And to be honest, I can kind of do without some of the Tails like stages. They did cook with the music overall though. I can go on about like Sonic Adventure 2, and Mega Man 6. I love Mega Man 6. There's a lot of favorites in there. Oh, I didn't even talk about this. You know what? I'll add this. I know that we're so far into like the podcast and we're gonna stop relatively soon, but I want to say my truth here. Capcom just dropped. I think it also been a Mega Man channel, but we just got a reveal and it was nowhere near talked about on Nintendo Direct, probably for a good reason. But Mega Man Starforce collection. This is weird. Starforce is kind of a derivative from Mega Man Battle Network. It will essentially what follows after, right? Both in like the timeline, but also just like purely the gameplay mechanics. So instead of like the grid style thing, you get the grid style, but it's from like behind the character. So you're looking forward and creates a whole different perspective of how you like play through like that type of game versus Battle Network. I'm in the camp that says that I like Mega Man Starforce 1, 2, and 3. I think Mega Man Starforce 3 is the most fun out of the three just because it just has really evolved its mechanics quite a bit and also allows for cheesing. A lot of cheesing. And it's just fun because of that. But otherwise, I feel like it's not as like crazy dynamic as it was with Battle Network, I feel, because it is like it's not like 9x9 grids for you, 9x9 grids for the enemy. It's like you only get like 3 grids and there's like more for the enemy too. But that did make things a little bit unique as far as like guarding against like just overarching attacks and everything like that. So it was very unique in its own way. But there's also like narrative stuff that wasn't like really as strong. But I do appreciate the fact that Capcom has been going through, the archives of Mega Man and just releasing those as bundles, because otherwise, how else would you play through like Mega Man Starforce aside from the not so legal reasons? Like that type of thing. Like I'd rather continue to like support like, the team behind them, like, or at least encourage them to make more Mega Man games. That's just me, dude. I would love more Mega Man games. They pretty much have stopped making new ones since Mega Man 11, and that was a while back. And since then, they've just been like releasing like the collections. That's pretty decent. I like the 2D like platform ones for sure. So Mega Man, Mega Man X, Mega Man Zero, ZX, and even ZX Advent, which was kind of take it or leave it. But I do like Battle Network a lot. It's a shame about Mega Man Legends though. They don't have a collection for that one yet. I feel like that's a little bit more valid because you don't really have other. I mean, it's the same argument as Starforce. There's no other way to like play those games unless you want to fork over money, like possibly, arguably, a lot more money. I think Starforce might be on the cheaper side, but Mega Man Legends, especially what Phil had told me about PlayStation's Misadventures of Tron, which is a kind of a loose Mega Man game. It is part of the Legends like series, right? But that's like one of the most expensive PlayStation 1 games, just on the third market. So if you want to experience that game in a somewhat legal way, you're forking over a lot of money for that. So it would be nice if they just released, like a collection. So at the very least, we show them that we want like games like this, but also at a fair price. But yeah, that's to say, it's for me personally, it's always good that they're porting over the collection of Mega Man games. I just would love for them to do, a new one. Well, I ask myself sometimes, like, what would be a Mega Man franchise that I'd love to see like a sequel of? If not, maybe like make a new Mega Man game that may be like just separate from the other ones. I'm a big fan of like the 2D platformers. Um, but you know what would be a wild take? A 3D Mega Man game. Yes, they've done that before. Legends and Mega Man 7 and kind of Mega Man 8. 7 was kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. And Legends is Legends. I can't really tell you much about that one. But if we could just like, I think there might be a way for you to kind of refine like the Mega Man series to be kind of like a third-person platformer and shooter. I just couldn't tell you. I need to get a team behind me, and we'd have to start cooking. We'd have to like go on the drawing board and see what works, what sticks, and we'd have to duke it out to see whose ideal is like better than the other. Because I would love to see that. I don't know how you would actually execute that. You're also thinking, I was thinking more in the style of like an Octopath Traveler. Oh, like the RPG? I mean, I know what Octopath Traveler is, but it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like maybe take the pixel art and make it like HD 2D. Maybe not necessarily RPG, but you could do that. But do it kind of like that. I'm not sure. That's actually yeah, that's interesting. I know that with HD 2D, like that's essentially like that's Square's bag. Like they have full reins over that and will dictate like who's making that, it seems. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. I think that's everything, guys. Good talk, actually. I kind of liked just having that. Oh God, and it's about time too. Yeah, I actually had places to be too. It's why we had to like set the timer for like the podcast to be like, okay, so I understand that we're trying to push it like so that like some of us can meet and make it to here, but also it's kind of tough because we can't really make it within like a certain time frame. Otherwise, I become busy, But it is what it is. So let me tell you guys real quick. The next time we come back to the podcast, it'll be the following Saturday. I don't know what's going to happen the upcoming week, but also should other guests appear, such as Phil or Mark or Anaya, they'll probably want to also give their takes about the Nintendo Direct as well. Thankfully, I have like an entire list that they may want to reference from as far as like the timeline and what's been announced for the Nintendo Direct, so we can always go for that. But they may talk about it in a capacity that is kind of compromised too, because it would have made sense to talk about it here when it's like still hot off the stove. But I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time that they'll probably want to like touch up on that here and there. So just FYI. But guys, I gotta hop out. I gotta like do some shopping, and we're going over to like a friend's place and everything like that. But we're gonna go ahead and call it here, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this episode of DangIT Prodcast. It's been episode 558. Yeah, my name is Justin, everybody, and yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Alrighty, #bye, everybody.